Hi there. I get the most difficult slot after lunch, obviously, and I'm probably the only guy here that has no IT background. So, and I'm not gonna call or IT background, coding background, and I'm not gonna talk about coding today with you. And when Anton asked me, do you want to come to Moldova to talk at this developer conference, I was a little bit like, okay, what am I going to talk about? And you already see now, I'm going to talk about the only certainty in life, and that's death. You are going to die, and me too. That's certain. No, I'm not going to talk about death today. I'm going to talk about life. And a very quick background, yes, I founded Pirate Summit, but I'm also the CEO of a group of companies called Pirate, and there are 5 companies right now in Germany, in Albania, and in Estonia, and we are just creating B2B businesses. So I'm an entrepreneur. Actually, I've done a little bit of coding. I think in 2002, I was a backend developer. I think I was one of the worst backend developers in the world. And I quickly terminated that very short career path. It was probably 8 months or something. PHP, it was whatever. Okay. My story starts in 2010. With a few friends, I decided I want to create a conference, and I want to create a conference that I would really love to attend myself. An amazing venue, great people there, food all day, beer all day, just having a good time with good friends, people going on stage to share their thoughts, people from the audience participating, a lot of that stuff. And for some reason, I was not alone, and other people really liked that. They liked that idea of having something a little bit unique, a little bit unusual. And there were not a lot of conferences back in those days. And over the time, the other people that I founded the conference with left. I was by myself, and this could have been my life's work. I put my whole soul into this, my whole heart into this. I cared deeply. It didn't make a lot of money, but that didn't really matter. We had other businesses that we also were building, but it really meant a lot to me. However, this summer, in June, I decided that this would be the last edition. And also today, but during probably the last half year, the most asked question towards me was, why? Why are you stopping something that people love, and that also was doing quite well, at least in people that attended, international reach, etc. And that's still a big question, and I'm trying today to talk to you about what changed, or why am I stopping that? And I hope that this will give some inspiration to you to also think about choices that you make in your life. And let's rewind a bit. Let's go back 4 years. 4 years ago, my life was pretty good, actually. On the business side, by the way, all these pictures that you saw are all Pirate Summit kind of pictures, right? So you get a little bit an impression, because most of you did not attend what the event is like. My business life in 2019, we started 2018, 2019 to, okay, we need to make some kind of money, and we started to create these other companies, businesses, and they started to show some success. Pirate, as such, was growing and profitable, very important. Private life, I had what is normal on the trajectory: wife, 2 kids, house, car, whatever, all that stuff. And then this happened. This happened to all of us. You know what this is. A pandemic hit, an external shock event. And that led to, within one month, because the main part of the business was still events, it led to this. If you're not allowed to do events, it's very hard to run an event company. And as an event company, you are the first that needs to stop operations, and you're the last to resume operations. And within really an instant, the company that I had built was nearly bankrupt. At the same time, coincidentally, my marriage fell apart, which was a surprise to me as well. Of course, we had our issues, but my wife fell in love with someone else, as it happens, right? Two things with a big shock impact from the outside world, where I had little chance of doing anything about, happened. Because in the past, what I'd always done, I had outworked everything. I had seen several crises before, and I just worked harder. And it always worked. But you cannot outwork a pandemic if you cannot even operate. So what happened was, what followed was the hardest year of my life. And I'm deeply, deeply grateful that the year 2020 happened, because it really changed my perspective on life. And what I noticed, when everything outside of you falls apart, and you cannot really, like with a pandemic, it was really like an external shock you cannot really do anything about. Everything crumbles. My life's work, my family, which was holy. Where do you go? Where do you find shelter? Where do you find a place that feels secure? And the only way that I found was inwards. Sure, I had options to go take drugs, any other addictions, right? I chose to go inward. And what I did was I started to reflect, and I started to ask myself questions. And this was one of the initial questions. What does that mean now? What does this whole thing mean for me? And okay, I have to rebuild anything anyway. How do I define success? In part of, okay, where am I going to start rebuilding, and what am I going to start towards? Rebuilding towards. And I would love to ask that question to you as well. And maybe I can also engage you a little bit to quickly think about, how do you define success? Anyone, I know this is the hardest, right? Anyone wants to maybe give a perspective. I would love to have like 3, 4, 5. What is success for you? It can be anything, no judgment, right? But just a thought right now. What is success? Money. What else? To do what you want. Traveling. Family. Happiness. Life easier, sorry? Being alive. Realization of life. Progress. Purpose. Creativity, sorry? Doing only interesting things. Sorry? Collective good of the community. I love it. So a lot of different perspectives. And there is no judgment there, right? It's your definition of success. And that's totally valid. So in the Western culture, if you will, there are usually 4 things that are like attributed to a success. Money, certainly the most prominent one. Influence, power, fame. That's what we usually attribute success to. And if you look at the money question, and I was never really someone that chased money. Money is important, yes, to live, to survive, etc. But it never really ticked my boxes much. So, and if you really look at the nature of money, with money you can buy medicine, but you cannot buy health. You can buy a big gym equipment, but you cannot buy fitness. You can buy books, but not wisdom, and all of that. You cannot buy respect. You cannot buy friendship. You cannot. I have 2 kids, 10 and 12 years old. I don't know if you have kids. You cannot buy your kids' love. You cannot do that. And so, to me, money, yes, is important, but it's not something that I thought like this would be somewhere where I generated pictures here. So I just left them there. Just take a look. And also, if you are chasing the yacht, right? Thinking, when I have that yacht, I will be happy. My perspective is, if you cannot be happy on a small boat, you won't be happy on that yacht. And once I'm giving my perspective on success a little bit later, but once I really thought deeply and reflected on success, then I said, okay, do I live according to what the success means? Do I live according to my priorities? How do you know a person's priorities? Anyone? How do you know? Time. By asking? Yes, absolutely. And there are 2 things you can really measure. And that's the bank account. Where do a person spend his or her money? And the calendar. You can just really look there. And all of you that said some success factors, success is family, success is stability, success is whatever, please do reflect. Are you really, based on your definition of success, prioritizing your money and your time accordingly? That really changes a lot in your mind. And then I thought, in the next moment, okay, what do I want to have more of and less of in my life? I'm not a black and white person. I'm more of a, what do I want to have more and less of? And especially this less of made a lot of sense to me, because if you look into nature, if you look into animals, right? If they are hungry, if they're fighting for survival, they have one problem. If survival is managed, then they are just chill. Look at a cat, look at a dog, look at a cow, then they are just chill. With the human beings, if survival, there's only one problem, survival, just hungry. When the survival is accomplished, all of a sudden there are 100 problems. Look at yourself, right? Think about it. All of a sudden 100 problems. Why? Because the mind is playing tricks on us. And my definition is, I think the natural state of a human being is joy and peace. Just like with the animals, but our mind gets in the way. It's just like the blue sky, also AI-generated image here. It's just like the blue sky, and the mind is always like the clouds getting in the way, the weather, if you will. So what I was thinking about, okay, how can I eliminate a lot of things that frustrate me and that cause friction and that suck energy out of my life? And I created here a long list and a lot more to just say, okay, what do I want to avoid, and what does that essentially mean? You can read a few things, but it's just an example. So I was really, I don't want to work with assholes, so I don't do, just say no, right? I didn't want to have a filled calendar. I just want 2 fixed meeting slots a day, or 2 fixed 2-hour meetings, max a day, and then the other time I want to really maximize flow state in my life, because it just gives me a lot more energy. It just didn't feel right. I want more time with my family, right? I want to feel energized. It's just really important. So if I'm tired, I just take a nap. 20 minutes, 30 minutes, doesn't matter the time of day. Didn't want to work in an office, etc. So all of those things I just wrote down. That didn't mean I can change everything. But that was something, it would be better if I worked more towards that and eliminated these kind of friction moments. And thinking about this, all of a sudden I started to think about bigger questions. And I realized that there are 4 big questions in life. To me, there are more, but big questions that really have a big impact, are very, very practical. And these questions are, where do I live? What do I spend my time on? Who do I spend this time with? And who is my partner and eventually family? To me, these are very basic questions. I invite you to also think about that because they really shape your life. There are a few things in life that really have a linear effects, right? If you brush your teeth every day, you do it every day, etc. And there are a few things that really have an exponential effect. If you live in a certain place, if you marry a certain person, they have like a step function kind of impact. These are step function impact ones. Think about where you live. And you might say, oh, it doesn't really matter. But it matters tremendously because that's the surrounding, or that's the area that you surround yourself with. What would change, how would your life change if you would live on a farm? What would change if you, for example, assuming you are not German, you would live in Germany? What would change for you? What would change if you would live somewhere just by yourself, with no friends around? What would that do? What would change if you would live next to a lake, next to the ocean, etc., in mountains? Would that change your productivity? Would that change your joy, your happiness? What would change? It will definitely change your perspective of life. What would happen if you would be living on the 15th floor? What would happen if you would be living in a dense city on the bottom floor? It will impact how you see the world. And then what to do? You probably know Ikigai. I just want to mention it because I really thought about these four dimensions quite a bit, and I always wanted to do something that I really loved doing. I wanted to do something that is meaningful for others. I wanted to, of course, do something where I have a certain mastery in, etc. So if you look at that, this concept, Ikigai, Japanese concept, I really invite you to look at it. Don't have the time to go into much more. And then I saw this graph, and it really changed my view again. Who do I spend time with? And if you look at the data, right? It doesn't have to be your life, but most likely you are going to, through your life, every year be more alone. So it makes a lot of sense to get used to being alone more often. And if you are uncomfortable being alone, then maybe you are in bad company. So get used being with yourself. And then a partner really, really matters. Colleagues matter a lot. If you look at this chart, family, you're not going to spend a lot of time with family and friends compared to the others. And kids, and that really did it for me. At some point, they're out of the house, they're going to visit sometime, but who knows, right? So, you know this trite saying, you have two lives, you realize you have only one, or when you realize you have only one, the second one begins. And that was this kind of moment. So I had this idea of life as a possibility, of a blank canvas. And I could, all of a sudden, with this realization and everything falling apart, try to reimagine my life, try to redesign my life if you want. And every one of you, you have that chance as well. There is a journey that goes a certain distance that is passed up until today. And then it's up to you what your next step is going to be. The biggest freedom we have is how we respond to things. We cannot control what happens outside, but we can control how we respond to it and what we do about it. And this is really the most important thing, I think, to really say, no, you really are in charge of your life. You can make this happen. Look at this graph. So this is a typical life, 84 years, whatever, I don't know the real statistics here in Moldova, but imagine a full life would be 84 years. Something like, what is it, 1,000 months, 30,000 days. So where are you in this chart? And then think about how many books do you read a year? 10, less. How many books? I don't read 10. Oh, well, maybe. Sorry? 15. Wow. 1 or 2. So imagine how many books are you going to read if you are going to keep that tempo up, right? That speed. I don't know your age, but imagine you are 28 years old. How many books are you going to read? Then, much more interestingly, how often are you visiting your parents? What is their life expectancy? How often are you going to see them for the rest of your life? How often do you go on vacation? 3 times per year? How many? Once a year? So how many vacations do you have left? How many countries do you want to visit? Is that even possible? Realistically, right? Because something always gets into the way. And that really changes, at least for me, how to look at life. And I really believe that we are all the captains of our lives, but every one of us, everyone can choose what to do next. We cannot change the world tomorrow, right? But we can change what the next step is. And if we do a lot of steps, the world, at least our world, can tremendously change. And we have to accept that everybody is on their own journey. So I really want to ask you that whatever somebody is going through, etc., it's their journey. Let them go on their journey. That's also the biggest takeaway that I would love to give you guys. And I've been coaching entrepreneurs, mainly entrepreneurs, also a few like corporate leaders. I've been coaching them, and I've coached more than 100 people, some for years now. I've been a sparring partner because that's one of the most fulfilling things that I do. And I can tell you that nobody has a clue. Everybody that says I'm totally in control and I got life figured out, nobody has it figured out. If you really ask them, right? We're all pretending, and those that are not pretending are. It's visibly, but everybody that is pretending to be or seemingly is in control is just pretending. Life can fall apart very, very fast. And a lot of the things happen in our minds, and I'm very, very sure that you all know that. Why is that? And I love this quote from Mark Twain, because a lot of things we think about of the bad things happen, they never really happen because it's just a construct of the mind. Why is that? It's because we either live in the past as memories. We have great memories and, oh, do you remember that time? And in the past, everything was better and all that bullshit. Or bad memories and we don't want to think about them anymore. Traumas, if you will. Or we live in the future. Imagine if I have this yacht Or, even more often, if this happens, that would really be very, very bad. All of this is not reality, is not life. It is just our mind. You cannot live in the past and you cannot live in the future. Your mind can, and your mind can pretend that you live. But the only moment or the only life you can really lead is in the present moment, right now. That's the only place where you can really live. And if a lot of things we cannot change. If you cannot change, why worry, right? If you can change, do something about it. There's also no need to worry. If you cannot change it now, why worry? Then worry about it or do something about it once you can change that. So going to the now had a tremendous impact on certainly my view of the world. And we all have to acknowledge that there are 8 billion worlds. Every one of us has this world, has their own world, and only one Earth. Every single one has a different perception of the world. And I found this kind of structure that really inspired me, and I'm still thinking through it, etc. I'm gonna share it with you, how to see the world or how to experience the world. And I'd love to just share it also as a final kind of thing with you. So there are people that have this view that life happens to them, life happens to me. And I'm not really in control, and it's a lot of I'm the victim, or a lot of complaining, blaming. There's a drama triangle. Drama triangle consists everywhere where there is drama. There's a victim, there is a villain, somebody that does a bad thing, and there is a hero, right? And then a lot of drama happens. And there's a sense of separateness. It's you against me, those kind of things. And a second view, or let's say maybe also a second stage, a lot of entrepreneurs are in that stage actually, is life happens by me. If I don't do it, nobody does, but I can shape the world. And they have this urge, they want to shape the world, to change the world. And there are a lot of problems in life, but we can change them, right? We can do something about it. So the complaining stops, responsibility kicks in, and I take charge of it. And then a third stage might happen if these people let go. And then its life happens through me. If you let go, all of a sudden you cooperate with life. You realize that life is like a stream. And you can surf it, you can have a boat, you can swim in it, but you can cooperate with it. And you trust life, and you see life as an abundant source of possibility, if you will. And then, if you then realize that everything is one, then you get into that stage, life happens as me. Or also nirvana kind of, there are no problems, no solutions, no questions, no answers. Everything just is. Every one of us has been in all 4 stages. You might not have realized that. You might have just been there for a second, right? But every one of us has been there. And I hope that this also resonates with you, and that also starts maybe a process of thinking about that. And in different life areas, you may also be in different stages. And there's also I'm not saying this is, you have to do this. This is not, I'm not morally, or I'm not preaching at all. I'm just saying what I'm experiencing, how I also see, how I try to make sense of what I experience in the world. Of course, this is a lot where meditation goes and all of that, that stuff, right? Empty your mind, just be. in this life happens as me, the closest thing to that is if you look into a sunset. And I would invite you to, with a very open heart, an open mind, to watch the next sunset. And you might just for a second or for 5 seconds have a moment of entire peace. Maybe even this oneness. It's totally there, it's totally, and everybody, I'm sure, has felt it here. I just want to describe it and also to make it conscious. And these moments are the moments that we seek when we go after pleasure and all of that stuff. This moment of oneness. Okay, so this is as a pyramid. Also, then through responsibility gets the next step, letting go, and then also the oneness. So I promised you that, and this is also my closing kind of thought, that I would share with you what my current definition of success or maybe of wealth is. And it's very, I don't know, trivial maybe. It's basically to have a fit body, to have a calm mind, to be full of energy, and to have a loving heart. So that's what I'm striving forward to, and that's a very privileged position, I know, because this only works if your survival is secured. Otherwise, you may not be in that state. But we can all, because I assume that at least here in this room, you don't you don't go hungry. We can all strive more towards that. And I'm not saying at all, first, that this needs to be your definition of wealth. Second, that I am there all the time. But I've made tremendous changes. I'm very, very grateful in the last years, more towards that definition of wealth. You're all going to die. This is, you got this one life. What will you make of it?
Thank you. As I promised, this was the first presentation. I was sitting like from beginning till the end. And I can tell you before you were thinking about your questions, I remember previous year, the Pirate Summit, when you were talking, and I remember you staying on that ship. Yeah, because the Pirate Summit is a crazy, crazy place. If you've been to Odonian and Cologne, you can see that. And there was a big ship, and you were standing there, and you were talking, and this was the first time I was just listening, but as I told you, I don't remember what you said there. But I remember the feeling that I was so inspired by that, so that was really great. Guys who have questions, please raise your hands. Yeah, Denise, because he was writing a lot during the presentation, I saw that.
Yeah. You said you're happy, right? You look at your life, you retrospectively look at yourself, and you say you're happy. You look sad. Is there something wrong with it?
Thanks for the feedback. I don't feel sad.
You look like that.
No, it's
no offense.
I don't take it as an offense at all. I think that I feel a lot of joy. Not all the time, but I have very, very little sadness, if you will, in me. I have a certain world pain in me. When I look into the world, I seem to take in quite a bit of what the world, and I've sometimes also with all the conflict and all this stuff, I have a certain sadness about the world. But if I just look at me and about myself, I'm pretty content, and also I don't use the word happy that much. I feel a lot of joy. Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, more questions? Yeah, we have some time for that.
Why is fit body one of your keys in success?
Yeah. So basically, if you look at life in total, health is the basis of it all, and health meaning in all dimensions. The body in the human in my sense has the body, the mind, the emotions, and then life energies. That's how I put it, and that's also why I put in all those 4 parts. And I could also have written strong body, but then people would think like I'm a bodybuilder. I don't want to go there. It just needs to be fit. My dad had he's in a wheelchair. I don't know the English word right now. He's in a wheelchair now, and I know how limited his life is, because he doesn't have a fit body. And one of the things that I think is very important, at least to me, it gives me a lot of capability to be impactful in life. Without a fit body, you can also be impactful, but it's another tool to experience life and to also be active. And that's why it needs to be fit.
How do you define fit?
That I'm healthy, basically, that I can jump, that I can run, that I can pick things up, but there's no measure. It's something I don't have real KPIs or goals there. I just need to feel fit, and I need to be able to carry my daughter and do that stuff that I like to be doing, right? So that's if you look for something measurable, that's not how I would see it. But I have to do something every day. So what I do is I average about 12 to 13,000 steps a day, just to be moving. It's very good for my mind as well. It's also very good for my emotions. I go out in nature, and I'm just there. It's just wonderful, and the body makes it possible. So I do a lot of very consistent things to remain fit. I eat very well, I think, so very healthy. But that's because not because I see this as like I have to do that, but more like I am a fit body. And then it's not the discussion is not, okay, now I have to do this, but a fit body just does that, right? I don't know if that makes sense. So I'm not doing anything to myself or changing any habit based on, oh, I have to do this now, right? I try to become this fit body. I try to become the calm mind.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
We have one question from Roma. Yes, sorry, yeah, because Roma
This is the question I was waiting for.
Yeah, because this is the guy, by the way, just a pause for advertisement, who trained all our speakers except for Manuel, because he was doing by himself. Yeah, but Roma was making sure all the presentations are great for this conference. So yeah, he has this kind of opportunity to ask the question, yeah.
Thank you. Manuel, thank you, first of all, for being vulnerable on stage. That's something very few people can do and want to do. So thank you for that. And my question is, there was this moment in time when you decided, I want to stop doing Pirate Summit. What did you feel in that moment, and how did you process that feeling? Because it's something that you liked doing, and that's the curiosity here.
Yeah. This was a process, but it was because I was very clear, and also I showed you a little bit how I analyzed stuff or how I looked at things. I was very clear that this year was my last Pirate Summit, mine as an organizer. I was trying to look for a successor, and I couldn't find one. And it was very clear because I knew that this was a decision. If you decide something, it's only a decision if you leave something behind. Otherwise, it's not really a decision, I think. So you have to, this or that is a real decision, right? And I knew I did it because I wanted to spend more time with my kids. I wanted to have a more calm kind of work schedule. I work quite a bit, so don't get me wrong, but these peaks were something that were really frustrating me and stressing me out. And in that moment, when I really made that decision, I felt a big moment of liberation, a big moment of, not because I decided for that or that, but that it was decided, right? That was the important part, because I carried it with me like, oh, I have to decide this. Now it's decided, there's no going back. People didn't believe me until Pirate Summit. They still ask me, when is the next edition going to come? Yeah, certainly in 2 years or so. This is most likely, this is it. So, and that was liberating, and that was, and this, of course, that's something for the mind, and we need to be very, very conscious about that the mind needs certain things. And the mind, for example, needs clarity. Yeah. Does that answer the question?
How would you, I don't ask for an advice, but what would you next time, if you want to make a big decision, how would you make it easier to make that decision? What would help you process something? Because you said you carried it, it was a burden. What would you next time in life when you have a big decision to make again?
I think you always have a burden. If it's really an important decision, you have to carry it for some time. You have to feel the weight. If you do a quick decision, I think it's not, so I would take a bit of time. It needs to really be processed through your whole system. In the end, I very much believe in gut decisions. In the end, also this was a gut feeling, right? But I fed my mind and with a lot of like data, a lot of kind of, okay, let's think this through, talking to other people as well. But then in the end, I just went on a long walk, a long hike by myself. I came back, made the decision, never looked back. And this is my way. If I have a big decision, always sleep on it, always go on a long walk, always go on a whatever. I think that would be my kind of advice if you ask me for advice. But that's my way, you do your way.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think we have the time for one more question if there is. Yeah. Thank you.
Hello. Firstly, thank you for the presentation. It was very interesting. So I have a question. If we have a plan of what we want to do, for example, it is a career experience or our hobbies, for example, and let's say that here will be some stones which will stop you somewhere. And for example, for me, I get it that one stone is that I have the periods of the procrastination thing. So, for example, my brain just deny me to do something. And if you have something like that, how do you resolve it?
So if you procrastinate, how do you?
Yeah, sometimes. So it could be like a period for the 2 weeks, for example. So I know what I have to do, and I like what I'm doing, but my brain just denies me to do it.
So in the end, if you procrastinate, you just do not want this enough. So to be very frank, because there is no feeling of procrastination if you, for example, play. I don't know if you like Lego or so. If you just do it, there is no because you just love it, right? So this is not real smart advice, probably, but it's better to be in more positions where you just love the thing that you are doing. That's not how life works, and I get it, right? But that's what you want more of. Be in positions where you love the things that you are doing. And if you always push stuff away, there is something that's in the way. And there are tricks like do the hard thing the first thing in the morning, stuff like that. I can give you a lot of these kind of, but this is a little bit fooling yourself. It works in the end because it gives a result, but it's not. I'm not a guy that gives recipes for that kind of. I don't like to do that because I don't really believe in recipes, because then you do the recipe instead of just being happy. Being happy. I need to think about the question about happiness and sadness a little bit more. Just the guy, or right? So try to do more, and maybe also the stuff that you have to do, that you think you have to do, maybe you don't have to do it. Or change the perspective on it. Because there is, I deeply think that with anything that you do in life, you can enjoy the process. With anything. If you are a bricklayer, right, putting bricks, you can start to fall in love with the process, right? Doing something. It's just like the Japanese, if they draw and stuff like that, 5,000 times, the same thing. You can become that. So there's also a way to become more that. But I don't really give life hacks. So I more want to like show you that's a direction that you could go, and then find your way of how to cope with that. I feel like I didn't really answer the question well, but there I would search there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. And we have one issue. You don't drink wine, and people say there's wine inside, so we will think how to deal with that. But before that, instead of a handshake, I want just to embrace you.
Thanks, man.